Great credit goes.
Can you get a little bit closer to the mic? It's kind of choppy.
As I was saying, of course, great credit goes to our POC and the entire OCEC staff there in New York. The success of this IV&V effort, as is common, and I think typical of all the IV&V efforts, is very critically founded on the collaboration and communication between IV&V and our customer. In this presentation, I'm going to cover the city's goals for the ECTP program, some background about IV&V, how we ended up there, challenges that we faced, the value and contributions and accomplishments that we've had there, significant factors that we believe have led to the success of this effort, and a little bit about where we're headed. My presentation will be followed by two presentations, more detailed presentations on specific topics within the ECTP IV&V effort by two of my co-workers. Next slide. Okay, so ECTP is a multi-billion-dollar program to improve New York City's 911 system. Up until ECTP got started back in early 2000, around 2004, 2008, New York City was primarily using 20 and 30-year-old technology. So they've been a long time, an upgrade to their system has been a very long time coming. And their goals with this effort are listed forward their primary high-level goals there listed on the slide. Advancing the interoperability and coordination between public safety agencies. New York City has two primary public safety agencies, the New York City Police Department and the Fire Department of New York. The Fire Department of New York includes emergency medical services. There was a merger between the Fire Department of New York and EMS some time back. So one of the challenges they had is they've essentially been operating two entirely separate systems, and up until the ECTP program had largely been operating in different locations. So, a huge goal is to begin integrating their operations. They want to be able to reduce the call process in 911 response time. That's continual need that these 911 systems have. They're always pushing to far seconds off of the response time. They wanted to be able to increase the resiliency and technical redundancy in the system. One of the things they were doing here is they recognized in merging and co-locating and trying to converge to a single system, that includes less diversity in the system and more need for attention to resiliency and technical redundancy. And of course, they want to be able to improve the safety of the city's first responders. Largely, the effort will improve the safety of the responders through providing more timely, accurate information, greater amounts of information to the first responders. So their motto is right people, right place, right time. ECTP was initiated, really grew out of September 11, the tragedy there in New York City with the bombing their planes into the Twin Towers. All the problems that New York City had responding to that crisis. And then in the 2004, there was a huge blizzard snowstorm there in New York City, and they had quite a lot of problems responding to that. So those two events were two of the key driving events for the effort. The program actually is in its second phase. The first phase of ECTP actually delivered a new public safety management center, PSAC 1, in Brooklyn in January 2012. So they cut over to operations January 2012. And the main thing that they achieved with PSAC 1 to integrate, co-locate operations and move to a new integrated telemetry system. So the call taking software system that they use. Those were two of the primary achievements with PSAC 1. The second phase of ECTP phase 2, is what NASA IV&V is supporting. And the primary goal there is to deliver a redundant public safety management center located in the Bronx, planned to cut off in December 2015. Not only will government step, but they are continuing to move the technology and capabilities within the 911 community, within emergency response. The emergency response community nationwide and worldwide is rapidly increasing. And so New York City is doing a number of major technology upgrades in this new public safety answering center, including upgrades to their networks, radios, computer-aided dispatch systems, logging and reporting, a lot of other different things. In addition to upgrading public safety, in addition to implementing this second public safety answering center, the project includes retrofit of selected subsystems within the PSAC 1. So we're involved pretty much end to end. There are only a few limited areas that aren't within the IV&V scope, and we're covering everything, system integration down through the projects and across the life cycle. So I guess I should say a little bit about how we ended up where we are. Yeah, next slide, please. Actually, back up one, I didn't notice it was moving. So the legislation that established NASA actually included language that allows NASA to provide services on a reimbursable basis to other government entities. And so we were able to actually leverage that. The city of New York actually approached NASA's IV&V program. So IV&V, I'm proud to say, has done really good work and has established a reputation. And New York City became aware of the work that we've done. They had some problems throughout their effort with assurance, problems with some of the systems that they'd installed. And so they approached, asked, requested IV&V services from the NASA IV&V program. And so we actually started work there in July of 2012. So a little over a year ago. This effort, of course, you probably find it a bit unusual. Most of the audience here is involved with NASA's space efforts or space efforts of other teams around the world. And so to be here talking about an IV&V, a NASA IV&V effort in particular, working for a city government customer on a 911 system probably seems a bit unusual. But indeed we found that this effort has had significant benefit, not only in our being able to share capabilities, lessons learned, things that we've been able to do well for NASA with the New York City customer, but also things that we've benefited, things that we've learned, and ways that we've grown through this effort. So, this isn't a typical NASA IV&V effort. It's a rather large effort. We have some comparable efforts on NASA projects like JWST, MSL was a similar sized effort. So we have some comparable sized efforts, but we have 19 full-time people working this project. Nearly half of the team is actually sitting with the customer in New York City. It's a reimbursable project, as I mentioned earlier, in a very political environment. I don't think there's a more political city in the country than New York City. So a lot of attention to the project. It's told that this project actually has visibility all the way to the hill, Capitol Hill. A lot of people interested in this collaboration between NASA and city government, where actually the project, one of the key problems is that ECTP had experienced with PSAC-1, that first Public Safety Enhancement Center, actually was a software problem with that call-taking software. The call-taking software system was a system that was in wide use around the country at other PSACs, but it ran into a scalability problem in New York. New York system is an order of magnitude larger than most any public safety enhancement center in the country. The previous slide noted that they're serving about 11 million calls a year. Just the size of New York. New York is almost an order of magnitude. The cities of Los Angeles and Chicago have around 2-3 million people. The city, the number of people served by this 911 system in New York is close to 12 million. So it's huge. And so they've run into a software problem, but actually at this point they've resolved most of the problems that they had with that software system. It took them a couple of years to get there, but they'd actually knocked most of that out before we came on board. And so our effort has really been a systems IV&V effort, a system of systems IV&V effort versus a software effort. And so this has really added some unique dimensions. In our IV&V efforts for NASA, we certainly are involved in the systems work. So we have to understand the system in order to be able to understand the software needs, what the software is there for, and to be able to make sure that we in fact provide the software to fit the systems needs. But here on ECTP, our effort is entirely focused on the system itself, the integration between the systems and the subsystems, and white box analysis of some of the systems. But even in those cases, we're looking at primarily commercial off-the-shelf capabilities and components and their integration. So we're not. It's actually fairly unlikely that we'll be doing a code analysis of any kind on this effort. For this effort, we started actually in the middle of ECTP's elaboration phase for ECTP2. ECTP, the program, is applying the Rational Unified Process for Systems Engineering. So RUP-SE is the sort of overarching framework, systems engineering framework that they're attempting to apply. And we started in the way that the Rational Unified Process works for systems engineering. It's broken apart into a set of life cycle phases with iterative development within those phases. So they begin with what's called baseline and inception, sort of concept kind of phase. They then move to elaboration and then construction, followed by transition when it's tested and rolled out to operations of the system. And so we came in the last elaboration phase for the effort. So basically what we would refer to in non-RUP efforts is design, sort of end of design. And for a software-focused IV&V project, coming in toward the end of system design probably isn't all that unusual. Probably is not that extraordinary of a thing, although we like to start earlier. Because at that point, you really are starting to develop the software requirements and the software, even though the system may be in the middle of design, that doesn't mean the software is toward the end of its design already. But for this effort, where the focus really was at the system level, coming in toward the end of design really presented a challenge to us. So the city, basically what's happened is there's been a lot of missed opportunity, a lot of limitations and defects that were introduced early on that perhaps we could have averted if we'd been there sooner, that we've kind of had to work with the program to play catch up on. So there's a lot of unique things about this effort as compared to other NASA IV&V projects. This IV&V effort is also unique for the city of New York. The city of New York actually requires IV&V for significant efforts. So, we're there as part of a city mandate. But IV&V to them has normally been more about quality assurance, more about process-based quality assurance, making sure that the right deliverables are delivered on time, that they have the proper content, that type of thing. So what we've brought to the city, and they've been very appreciative of this, is a focus on technical aspects and the success of the mission versus primarily contractual compliance. So they really value this sort of change in IV&V. And this effort really is not only is it benefiting the city of New York, as I mentioned earlier, it's also advancing NASA and our IV&V program's mission and vision. We're being able to apply the achievements that we've had with NASA to this very complex, significant mission safety critical system there in New York. Our work there is actually driving us to advance NASA IV&V capabilities at the system level. We haven't had extensive experience actually doing targeted IV&V at system level products, and so this has really allowed us to grow. And of course, ensuring that NASA's IV&V program capabilities and services are state of the art. We'll be able to take the lessons that we're learning here in New York and apply them back, on NASA. So, next slide. So, I think that as we thought about what were significant drivers for our contributions, and I've lost there. Significant areas of contribution and accomplishments. One of the key things we think is that we've gone into this with the goal being not to reinvent the wheel and not to do something different, but to apply and promote what NASA has already achieved. So to take NASA's engineering discipline and rigor, one of the things that we believe has had the greatest impact on the city's work there is that the IV&V program has really been a champion for NASA's engineering discipline and rigor. So we promoted that at every opportunity. Tried to preach the message of the importance of engineering discipline and rigor, focused in the critical areas. So this has allowed us to have a significant impact on ECTP, a significant improvement to their systems engineering plans and products, which are a basis for everything else. They're engaged right now in a lot of remedial action, taking those improved plans, improved system level products, and going back and making sure everything's in good shape at the project level below. We've brought a great deal more emphasis. We've significantly increased the focus and emphasis on the system as a system of systems and on the integration aspects. We continue there to provide New York City with detailed engineering data and analysis that's allowing the city to better manage their program. So one of the things that we found is an awful lot of the things that we have identified, concern areas that we've identified, the city already recognized problems in various areas. They already recognized challenges that they had, but they didn't have a lot of objective evidence to use to drive change. And so one of the things that they really valued from us is we brought to them objective evidence, not only objective evidence for where there are limitations or defects, but we brought to them actionable recommendations for improving those systems. So, the type of IV&V that focused on quality assurance was able to tell them, quality is not what it needs to be. But because it wasn't founded in detailed technical aspects, wasn't necessarily able to influence the kind of change that they need. So we've actually been able, because of our focus on engineering rigor and technical aspects, been able to influence change there. So we provide high quality evidence-based assurance findings to the city, and the city's actually using our findings, our results, TIMS risks to inform their oversight of their vendors and approval of the vendor deliverables. And the city has, city executives all the way up to the deputy mayor have acknowledged NASA's valuable contributions. Next slide. So a little bit more about what we think we've learned that that's applicable, more broadly to other NASA IV&V projects. And one of the key things that has been a tremendous factor in the success that we've had has been the ability to leverage the standard IV&V analysis processes that the IV&V program has established. So the fact that the IV&V program has put a great deal of emphasis on making their work repeatable, on documenting methods and approaches, and making sure that they have sound engineering methods, that was a tremendous help to us, because we were able to hit the ground running, right away, just doing what NASA IV&V does. The skill sets on our team, I've been very blessed to have a very competent, very strong team, both there in New York and here at the IV&V program. And so being able to, we were able to augment our IV&V expertise with competent, experienced team members in the domains that we had less experience with here at NASA. And we were able to do that in a sustainable way and relatively quickly. Key lesson that we've learned is the importance of agility. This effort has been again, a great number of challenges with this effort. So we really found that being able to be really flexible, and we really appreciate the flexibility that the IV&V program has allowed us. The formal agreements that established the effort were written with great attention to making sure that it would be flexible and that we could do what we needed to do in an efficient and effective way. So we've had there a very demanding schedule. Again, I said we came in with the middle. There was the ECTP program. Initially, when we saw what they were doing with Rational Unified Process, we'd assumed that they had all of their subsystems, all of the projects within the system kind of in lockstep. So we had sort of this vision, this idea that we'd come in and everybody would be in elaboration iteration 1 together. And what we found is they were all over the place. So they weren't in lockstep. Some of the projects were already heading into construction, while others were back in their inception kind of phase. And so being able to apply a good criticality analysis, being able to effectively communicate with the customer, and work to overcome those schedule challenges was a very important thing. Of course, multiple stakeholders, across the city, the fire department and police department, they are huge. They have their own structure. They have a 15-day approval period for deliverables for the vendors. So being able to deal with that, all those things were huge challenges. So on to the next slide. Things that allowed us to overcome those challenges. I've already talked about our focus on technical quality. building effective relationships, strong partnerships, relationships with our POC there, with all the OCEC staff, having our team on site. This high cadence of reporting and communications, our philosophy has been no surprises. And having the right skills and robust management of the effort. So on to the next slide. So this technical quality has been a focus of everyone. And our focus on technical quality has been supported not only by the customer, but by the IV&V program and across the team. We've added additional levels of peer review just to make sure that our findings are high quality going to the customer. Of course, the existing processes provided a good basis for reporting the findings. Strong emphasis on understanding of user needs and use of the technical reference. And the effective relationships, we've effectively become an agent for OCEC. But at the same time, remaining independent. We found there's been certainly places where OCEC initially didn't think that, the direction IV&V headed was necessarily an area they thought would be that fruitful, but it turned out to be in many cases. So our independence, that's been great. I already talked about the on-site team. Access to the technical staff there at OCEC and on the system integrator side. Next slide. Heavy use of metrics in our reporting. We have a dashboard that we present to the deputy mayor, the chief of police or his deputy, and the chief of the fire department and his deputies every quarter. That's been a very effective tool in communicating how we see the status and where we think emphasis is needed, and managing expectations. We've had to, throughout this whole effort, continually communicate to the customer what the capability of NASA is, and making sure they understand what we're doing and how we're doing it. Of course, having the right skills and focus. So I think, actually, maybe I have a little bit of time to finish there, that last part. Skill sets. Our team, the team management structure is very flexible. So the way that we're organized is we have a leadership structure within the team with a set of leads for different domain areas. But then the team themselves, although they have each individual team member has certain emphasis areas, there's certain areas that they're more experienced in. The team really flexes across the various tasks and activities. And we've seen great benefit from this because people are able, and I've seen this with the NASA IV&V projects, the NASA mission projects that I've worked as well. One of the advantages that IV&V has is because we're not strictly, organized in the same structure that the developer has. We're able to learn things in areas that touch each other, and being able to recognize places where there are integration concerns, where integration and interfaces are significant, and be able to share what we're seeing across the program. It's been very, very valuable. So we have sub-teams with blended skill sets. Our leads have the IV&V experience, and we're always careful to back up the people who have less domain experience with people who have greater domain experience. But this flexibility has been a great help to us. And then our planning cycles. We do of course, the program yearly high-level IPEP level type planning, but then we do more detailed planning on 6 to 12 week cycles. And of course, we socialize those plans and coordinate those plans with our customers. So I think that pretty much covers everything. There's a lot of the points there in those slides that I didn't emphasize. I can cover those in the breakout session. So thank you all.
Thank you. Anybody who wants to ask Mike some questions, you can head on over to the breakout room. Yep, and straight out the door there. And then anybody online, you can check out the breakout room as well.
If you'd like to ask a question over the phone line, please press *1 on your touch tone phone. Make sure your line is unmuted and record your name at the prompting.
Which phone was it?